Now, former Bush speechwriter Mark Thiessen made headlines earlier this week when he clashed with CNN's Christiane Amanpour about the Bush administration's enhanced interrogation policies. Look at this.
Do you support torture? I know you do not.
Torture.
I know you don't call it torture.
It isn't torture.
The extreme pain, the enhanced interrogation techniques.
There have been so many misstatements told about the enhanced interrogation techniques, comparing them to the Spanish Inquisition, to the Khmer Rouge. And I have to tell you, Christiane, you're one of the people who have spread these mistruths.
Excuse me?
We did not submerge people in a box full of water. S-21.
Excuse me a second.
S-21.
That is called waterboarding.
No, it's not.
You can say in whichever way you want.
Christiane, Christiane, you're absolutely wrong.
This was Pol Pot and the genocidal regime.
14,000 people killed in S-21.
Correct.
7 survivors.
Excuse me, you're trying to obfuscate the debate here. That prison was full of images of water torture.
Wow, checkmate. Now, I'm glad that nobody at that network is towing a partisan line. But what exactly did the CIA do, and did it strengthen your security? Now, we took a look at the issue ourselves, as well as how things have changed under President Obama, followed by a reaction from Mark Thiessen himself. Let's take a look.
I strongly believe that the steps that we've taken to prevent these kinds of enhanced interrogation techniques will make us stronger over the long term and make us safer over the long term.
That was President Obama 100 days after he took office, defending his decision to dismantle some of the CIA interrogation techniques used on suspected terrorists. Now in April, President Obama, along with his Attorney General Eric Holder, went further by declassifying CIA interrogation documents, including sensitive details about the program. But his decision to publicize guarded intelligence involving terrorists has made many in the intelligence community question if it has aided our enemy and made America more vulnerable to another terrorist attack. That is the premise of the new book, Courting Disaster, How the CIA Kept America Safe and How Barack Obama is Inviting the Next Attack. The book's author, Mark Thiessen, asserts that the so-called enhanced interrogation techniques were directly responsible for foiling multiple terror attacks after 9/11. Now, Thiessen was President Bush's head speechwriter and was given unprecedented access to some of the most sensitive intelligence our government possessed on al-Qaeda interrogations. He challenges the notion that waterboarding constitutes torture, as well as many other CIA tactics. Now, according to Thiessen, the operatives were trained to provide outdated information and drag out interrogations so that their comrades could carry out more attacks. But after the advanced interrogation techniques were used, they gave valuable information that led to the captures of many key operatives. The poster boy for enhanced interrogation techniques was al-Qaeda operative Abu Zubaydah, who was captured in Pakistan after a shootout.
Zubaydah was questioned using these procedures, and soon he began to provide information on key al-Qaeda operatives. Zubaydah identified Ramzi bin al-Sheikh. The information Zubaydah provided helped lead to the capture of bin al-Sheikh. And together these two terrorists provided information that captured Khalid Sheikh Mohammed.
And according to Courting Disaster, it is the dismantled interrogation techniques that ensure that those terrorists are no longer walking free.
Mark Thiessen now joins us. How are you? Good to see you.
Thanks for having me on.
Thanks for being here. You start out the book with this editor's note. You should not be reading this book. I should not have been able to write it. That's an interesting way to start a book.
Well, it's the Obama administration has released all of this information about how we interrogate captured terrorists. And it's the secrets behind how the United States stopped the next 9/11. Yeah. And they should have remained secrets. But they've released all this information, and Obama's gone and said that we committed torture, and we did nothing of the sort. And so if they're going to release this information, I'm going to use it to defend the CIA interrogators.
Well, I'm glad you are. The idea, for example, we have an underwear bomber that has information that wanted to kill 300 Americans, and we don't interrogate the guy and we let him lawyer up, is madness to me. I mean, all right, let's go through a little bit of this. And tell a story about how you were asked to write the speech for the president on this.
Sure. Well, in 2006, the program had been stopped by a combination of the Supreme Court and the efforts of liberals in Congress, the enhanced interrogation. Right. And so I was asked by President Bush to write a speech revealing this program. And in the course of writing that speech, I got to know the interrogators. I sat down in a room with the people who actually, the real Jack Bauers, the people who actually interrogated these people. And they told me, they walked me through how they stopped terrorist attacks, how they interrogated Khalid Sheikh Mohammed, how they got him to tell us his plans for follow-on attacks after 9/11.
Tell us, you now can tell us.
Sure.
What did they do?
Well, there were two. If we think back to the period right after 9/11, there were two terror networks. We didn't know. First of all, we didn't know who KSM was when we were hit. We didn't know who he was, that he was behind it.
It was only because of enhanced interrogation that we found out who he was.
That's exactly right. Yeah. And so we started, and there were two terror networks out there that were planning to attack us. We now know from these declassified intelligence documents. One was KSM's network, which was behind 9/11, and the other one was the Hambali network, which was Southeast Asian terrorists that he had tasked to hijack a plane and fly it into the Library Tower in Los Angeles. And as a result of interrogating, I tell the story in the book of how we captured first Abu Zubaydah, then KSM, and then slowly rolled up these two networks, more than 24 people, and stopped them from committing attacks to fly a plane to the Library Tower, to blow up our consulate in Karachi, to blow up our Marine camp in Djibouti, to fly an airplane, to do 9/11 in London, fly planes into London's financial district and Heathrow Airport. And so all of these things were stopped. Now fast forward to 2009. A new terror network. We've got this, the Al-Qaeda in the Arabian Peninsula.
Right.
By the Obama administration's admission, we know nothing about them, and we didn't even know they were planning attacks in the United States. Why? Because we are not capturing terrorists and interrogating them anymore. Yeah. So we are blind because we've taken away the most important tool of intelligence we have.
So the net result would be that they're going to be successful. Isn't that the logical conclusion?
We're courting disaster. We're in danger because we do not have this capability. You know, to explain why it's important, okay, I interviewed Mike Hayden, the former CIA director, and what he said was, intelligence is like putting together a puzzle without being able to see the cover of the box. You've got all these pieces. You've got signals intelligence, an email intercept of some kind. And the only people who know what the picture looks like are the senior terrorists like KSM. So when you interrogate them, they tell you what the picture on the cover of the box looks like.
Hayden and a number of other former CIA directors have all said the same thing. You tell me if they're wrong. That we accumulated more intelligence from enhanced interrogation than all of our intelligence agencies combined.
That's true? That's 100% true. And through 2006, since the 9/11 attacks, half of what we knew about Al-Qaeda and their plans came from CIA interrogations. Yeah. They identified voices and phone calls, which we didn't know who they were. They uncoded terrorist communications for us. They told us from the inside how Al-Qaeda operates and what their plans are. They gave us the picture on the cover of the box. We don't have the picture on the cover of the box anymore, and that's why we're in danger.
And is that why we prevented attacks all these years?
It's exactly why. Because we questioned these terrorists. You can intercept a phone call, but if you don't know who the voice is in the phone call.
All right, what do you say to the critics that always say, well, if you're using enhanced interrogation, people will say anything. They'll just to make it stop, to make it go away. But you obviously have to cross-check what they're saying with what others are saying, and then you have the ability to confront them again. And
that's exactly
so right. Eventually, they do want it to stop, so the only way that's going to stop is if they tell the truth.
Well, one of the things that's actually one of the biggest myths that's told about this program, we actually didn't use enhanced interrogation techniques to get intelligence. We used enhanced interrogation techniques to get them to cooperate. KSM started out being defiant. Then we waterboarded him, and then he was compliant. And they asked him during the enhanced interrogation techniques answers to questions they knew the answers to gauge whether he was now changed his mind and was going to cooperate. And then the techniques stopped. The techniques lasted a couple of days.
You see, I think it's hard for good people to understand evil.
Yeah.
And you're describing pure, unadulterated evil in this book.
There's a story of one of the interrogators who was late at night, was talking to Gardner Peckham, as a guy who did an investigation in this program, and this guy said that he had come, he was faced with KSM late one night, and KSM just said to him, you know, if I ever get out of this hole, I'm going to slit your throat and kill your family. Smiled while he said it. And this guy said, you know, my job is hard. And it's tough sometimes facing these guys. But every time I get down, I just think of that couple, those two people who stood on the ledge of the World Trade Center and just held their hands and went off into space. And I go back to my work. These people are heroes. They're not torturers. Yeah. They're heroes who stopped the next 9/11, and they're vilified.
What do you think about the fact that there were people in this country that would like to try them?
It's incredible. This is the most successful and important intelligence program probably in the history of the CIA. And these people, you know...
Where's Leon Panetta? Why isn't he defending his own agency?
He's trying to, but it's within
He's
that.
He's not trying hard enough.
he's doing his best. He's up against Eric Holder, and he's up against a lot of people who are out to get these people.
Then if he can't do his job, he needs to quit and resign and tell the country why he can't do his job.
I wish he would, but the problem is whoever would come after him would probably be worse.
All right. Great. Incredible insight
Thank you very much.
What actually goes on. Appreciate you being with us.
Thank you for having me.